Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Middleware Technologies. Today we are going to look at how we can authenticate hardware registry with Open ID Connect provider, that is Keycloak. So let us see how we can achieve this in this video. So I'm currently working on the following server, Fedora 41 server with Docker and Docker Compose installed. These are the versions that currently I have. And we have hardware and Keycloak also installed. So these are the prerequisites for setting up the authentication with Keycloak provider. Before getting into the details of the implementation, let us try to understand what is hardware registry. As we know, hardware registry, it is used to store the images which we build, and it helps us to secure the images. We can sign the images and we can also scan the contain the images to identify the vulnerabilities in it. So it is an open source project which is designed to enhance the security, identity and management aspects of the container image repositories. Coming to Open ID Connect, OIDC provider, it is an extension of the OAuth 2.0 protocol. Basically, it provides authentication and authorization services. There are different providers of OIDC protocol. One of them is Keycloak, which is what we are going to use in this video. Some of the key components of OIDC provider or the Keycloak are the following. Resource owner or the end user is the individual who owns the resources and grants access to the applications. And resource server is where the resource owners resources are available, which he owns, and he is the only person who can authorize to give access to them. Client application is one that is requesting the resource the client application is one that requests access to protected resources on behalf of users. So instead of user providing the credentials to the client application, the client applications ask for authorization by the resource owner so that they can gain access to the resources that are available on the resource server. Authorization server is basically the one that provides authentication to the user and issues token to the client application, which will further use that token to access the resources. So let us try to understand this with a diagram. So let us try to understand the hardware registry authentication with Keycloak OIDC with a simple diagram. So there are three important parts in this architecture. One is the resource owner, one is the hardware registry, which is used to store the images, and the Keycloak OIDC server, which has the user profiles. And Keycloak OIDC provider can act as the resource server and also as the authorization server. So in this case, both the activities are being carried out by the same server. So as a first step, the resource owner tries to access the hardware portal wherein there are no authentication details of that user. So hardware registry, it further redirects the user or the resource owner to the Keycloak OIDC provider to authenticate the user. Keycloak authenticator or OIDC provider will authenticate the user. The resource owner will provide his credentials, which are verified by the Keycloak OIDC provider, and if that authentication is successful, it will provide the ID token or the access token to the hardware registry. Hardware registry is going to further forward that to the resource owner who is going to use that ID token in order to log into the hardware registry. So this is on a high level what exactly happens with the hardware registry authentication with the Keycloak OIDC provider. Now that we have understood the high-level architecture of the implementation that we are going to carry out, let us try to get into the details of implementing this architecture. So as a first step, we need to ensure that the Harbor service is up and running. So let me go into my server. So this is the server wherein the Harbor and Keycloak services are installed. So let me try to bring up the Harbor service over here. So here is the Docker Compose file that we get once we install the Harbor service. So this is the same Docker Compose file that we have used in order to set up the Harbor registry using Ansible playbook. So you can just follow this blog in order to understand how we can set up the Harbor registry using the Ansible playbook. So let me start up the Docker service. So let me check whether the Docker service is up and running. So Docker service is up and running. Now we can use the Docker Compose command to start up the Harbor service. So this needs sudo access. So let us try with sudo. So our Docker service is starting up. Let me clear my screen and check the container status. So they are starting up. Let us give it some time. Let me clear my screen and try to check it again. It is starting up. Now you can see the services are up and running for the Harbor registry. So we can go to our portal and try to access it with the fully qualified domain name and HTTPS protocol, because I am running my Harbor on secure protocol. So this is a default page that you get when you install the Harbor registry freshly, and you have the default admin user which you can use to authenticate with the file system, which acts as a database for the authentication purpose. Okay, so now let us go to our next step, that is ensuring the Keycloak service is up and running. So here, we are going to use Keycloak as the OIDC provider, and we are going to start up the service in a secure protocol, with the TLS certificates. Okay, so let me show you the Keycloak Docker Compose file. So this is the Docker Compose file. So this is very basic Docker Compose file that we are using to start up the Keycloak service. This is the image, the version that we are using, and this is a command which will start up the Keycloak service in development mode. This is not recommended for production use, but this is for demo we are doing this. And these are the environment variables that we are going to set. This is the admin user and the admin password that we are setting for the admin console of the Keycloak, and this is the certificate, the private key and public key that we are passing to the Keycloak service. So this is the location where we are trying to store, and the Keycloak service will pick up those certificates from that location. And these are the ports that we are opening up, are exposing 8080 for HTTP and 8443 for HTTPS protocol access. And these are the volume modes basically where we have stored our certificates. So these certificates are the same certificates that we have utilized for the Harbor registry. So this is the very basic Docker Compose file that we are using, and HTTP enabled is basically for the HTTP protocol access, which we are not going to use it, but we just enabled it for demo purpose. Now let us start up the Docker Compose for this Keycloak service. Let me clear my screen and do Docker PS. So this is a Keycloak service which is coming up. Let me clear my screen and try to do Docker PS. So this is showing as up. Now let us try to access the Keycloak service. So this is a Harbor service, and the Keycloak service is going to listen on the secure port which is 8443. So let us try to access it over that port. So this is the admin console page that you will get, wherein you can authenticate with the admin credentials that we have set during the Docker Compose startup, the Keycloak service startup. So this is a default page that you will get as a Keycloak service installation and setup. So now we have our Harbor service running and the Keycloak service running. Now let us try to create a Keycloak realm. So realm is basically a isolated environment wherein we can create the client applications and the associated users which will authenticate with the Keycloak service. Let us try to create a realm named Harbor. So let me go to the Keycloak admin console, and here we have already a realm, so let me try to delete it and recreate it. So let us try to go to realm settings, action, delete. So we are going to recreate it and see how it works. So now we have deleted the realm. So if you go and check the drop down, you will not see that Harbor realm. So let me try to create a realm with the name Harbor, and let us click on the create button. So this is going to create our realm, and now we will have our portal switched to the Harbor realm. So ensure that you are working on the Harbor realm rather than on the master realm. Now let us go to our documentation. So the next step that we are going to do is we are going to create a client. In this step, we are going to create a client named Harbor. So this is the name. So let me go to the Keycloak admin page and navigate to the clients. And here we are going to create a new client which is of type Open ID Connect, and the client ID is Harbor. These are optional, but let us give the same name, Harbor. Description is Harbor, and keep the defaults. So this is the general settings. Now in the capability configuration, we need to enable the client authentication. We also enable the authorization. This is for future reference in case we want to use it. Now let us go to the next page. Here we need to provide a valid redirect URL for the client application which we want to access. So here we are going to provide a redirect URL, that is this one. So we have our Harbor service that is listening on HTTPS protocol. So any context that we want to access on this, we can redirect to that one. So this is a valid redirect URL. And let us set the web origin also, from where the requests are going to be triggered. So this is where the client authentication requests are going to be triggered. So this is the very basic setup that we can do for creating our client. Now let us try to save the client application. So if you go to the client navigation, you will see Harbor client has been created for us. Now let us go to our documentation again. The next step that we are going to do is we need to create a group. So this is an optional, but it is advisable to create a group in order to manage your users. So here we are going to create a group. So here we are going to create a group using the create group button, and let us name our new group as Harbor user groups. Okay, so let us create this group, and let us now to go to the documentation. So the next step that we are going to do is create a user and associate that user with that group. So here let us go to the users page, and let us try to create a new user and provide the username as harbor dev, and let us give the email address as harbordev@stack.com, and let us give the first name as same as the last name, and let us add this user to the harbor user group, and let us try to create this user. So the user is created. So now we have the harbor realm in which we have created the client, which is the harbor client, and we have created a group, and we have created a user that is associated with that group. One more thing that we need to do is once we have created a client, we need to go to the credentials tab and try to get this client secret, which is required for harbor registry configuration, wherein we will be doing the OIDC provider configuration. Now let me go to my documentation again, and now let us see like how we can enable and configure OIDC authentication on the harbor registry. So here let us go to the harbor portal and let us log in with the default admin credentials that we have. And here we need to navigate to the administration configuration and select the authentication mode as OIDC. Just don't enable this option, because if you enable this option, this is going to by default redirect your authentication page to the Keycloak service. So we are not enabling this, so that we have two options to either authenticate with the OIDC provider or with the default the database like file system database that we use for authentication. So just don't enable this one. And now let us try to get into the details of the configuration. So OIDC provider, we need to provide the name of the OIDC provider, which is Keycloak in this name, in this demo, and the OIDC endpoint is this one, https the fully qualified domain name with the port 8443, that is a secure port, and realms, the harbor realm. This URL that which I have used, you can get it over here also in the realm settings. Go to the OpenID endpoint configurations, and you will see this is the issuer which we are using. Okay, so the same thing that I have used over here. And the next thing is the important thing, the client ID and the client secret. The client secret is going to be the client secret that we need to copy from this credentials part. So here I will just copy this one and try to, let me close this one, update it over here. And the OIDC group basically is a group that we created, harbor star, wherein the users for the harbor registry or the harbor client are available. And let us keep the OIDC scope as this one and try to test the connection. So now if your configuration is correct, it will be able to connect to the OIDC endpoint with the client ID and client secret that you have provided, and the test connection will be successful. So we are good with the configuration. Let us save this. Okay, now we have saved the configuration. So the next step is validating the harbor authentication. So for this, what we need to do is, let us try to log out, and now you will see, let me refresh the page. Now you will see we have two options wherein we can authenticate with Keycloak, and the other option is authenticating with the local DB. So let us try to authenticate with the Keycloak now that we have the user available for our client. So once you click on the Keycloak login with Keycloak, it is going to redirect you to the Keycloak realm wherein we need to authenticate. So this is the harbor realm wherein we need to authenticate with the user. So the user that we have created in this realm is harbor dev. one more thing that we need to do is, we have created the user but we haven't set any password. So what we need to do is, we need to go to the users, go to the Harbor Dev user, go to the credentials, set password. Set password has same as harbor_dev. For this demo, confirm the password. Is it a temporary password? No, we want this user to not change this password, so let us disable this option and save it, and click on the save password. So the password is updated. So now let us try to provide the password over here for this user. So it will authenticate the resource owner, that is the end user, with the Keycloak rel. So as a first step, so once you are authenticated, it will ask you must create a Harbor username the first time when authenticating via the third party. So this is going to create a Harbor username in the Harbor portal, which is associated with the Harbor. This will be used with within the Harbor to be associated with the projects and roles that we are going to create over here. So let us try to create this same username in the Harbor registry, which is actually a OIDC user, but we can use it on the Harbor to associate with the projects and roles. So let us try to save it. So now you see the authentication is successful and we have been logged in with the Harbor_dev user, which we have created on the Keycloak server. So this is onboarded via OIDC provider, and this is the login page that you will get by default for a normal user. So this is how we can enable the Harbor registry to authenticate with the OIDC provider, which is a Keycloak service in this case. So we have seen the default page after the login. So this is what I wanted to show you in this video on how we can configure both the Harbor registry and the Keycloak service in order to integrate both of them, so that the Harbor registry can leverage the OIDC protocol for authentication purpose. So thank you all. Thanks for watching this video, and you guys have a great day.